Police say time is running out in the search for 10-year-old Zahra Baker. The little girl suffers from bone cancer, and one thing that's making the search difficult is that officials aren't sure how long she's really been missing. Before we speak exclusively with two members...
This 2:30 this morning?
No, like I said, we had all that drama last night, and me and my wife went back to bed. And my daughter's, I think, coming into puberty, so she's hitting that broody stage.
This is the heartbreaking story of Zahra Baker, a young Australian girl whose life was cut tragically short in North Carolina at just 10 years of age. Please excuse any errors in my English, as it is not my native language. Zahra Claire Baker came into this world on November 16, 1999, in the Australian town of Wagga Wagga. Her parents were Emily Dietrich and Adam Baker, two young Australians just starting out in life. But shortly after giving birth, Emily began suffering from severe postpartum depression. The struggle with mental illness led her to relinquish custody of baby Zahra to Adam when Zahra was only 8 months old. Adam stepped up to raise his daughter on his own. In 2004, he moved with young Zahra to the tiny town of Hickory, Queensland, to take a job at the local sugar mill. Adam worked hard to provide for his little girl, with help from his mother, who also lived in Hickory. Life was simple but happy for the Bakers in this small community of just 400 people. But in 2006, their world was turned upside down when 6-year-old Zahra was diagnosed with bone cancer in her left leg. Over the agonizing months that followed, the staff at the Royal Brisbane Children's Hospital tried valiantly to save Zahra's leg. But the cancer was too advanced, and her left leg had to be amputated above the knee to stop the disease from spreading. For any adult, losing a limb would be traumatizing. But brave Zahra faced the surgery with maturity beyond her years. She reassured others that everything would be okay because she was getting a new Barbie leg. Her infectious optimism lifted the spirits of those around her, even as she underwent the grueling treatments of chemotherapy and rehabilitation therapy to adjust to her prosthetic leg. Although shy around strangers, Zahra formed close bonds with the other young cancer patients, often doing homework and playing games with them during their stays at the hospital. Against all odds, the chemotherapy succeeded in driving Zahra's cancer into remission in 2008. But the powerful drugs had also damaged her hearing, forcing her to wear hearing aids in both ears. Still, after so many months of hospital stays, Zahra was finally able to return home and enjoy just being a kid again. Tragically, Zahra's renewed childhood would be short-lived. Around this time, her father Adam had struck up an online relationship with a woman named Elisa Fairchild, who lived half a world away in North Carolina. She described herself as a gothic fairy, using an image of a red-winged angel as her online avatar. Despite Elisa still being married to another man, she and Adam became smitten with each other. Elisa soon pressured Adam to move to North Carolina with Zahra so they could finally be together. After so many lonely months in the hospital, the prospect of a new family must have seemed appealing to Adam. But according to friends, Zahra did not want to leave her life in Australia behind. She had fought so hard to beat her cancer and get back to the friends and grandparents she loved. Unfortunately, a young child's wishes often go unheard by the adults in their lives. So, at just 8 years old, still learning to navigate the world without her left leg, Zahra was uprooted from everything she knew. She flew across the globe with her father to start a new life in the small town of Hickory, North Carolina, population 40,000. Stepping off the plane, she entered a world that would soon become filled with unimaginable horror and pain. After settling into their new home in North Carolina, Adam Baker married Elisa Fairchild. But wedded bliss quickly soured for this ill-fated couple. Elisa, obsessed with controlling Adam, convinced him to pull Zahra out of public school and keep her isolated at home instead. Neighbors noted that Zahra was rarely seen playing outside or interacting with other children. And when she was spotted, the freckle-faced girl usually had bruises, painful reminders of Elisa's quick temper and harsh physical discipline. With nowhere to escape, the abuse only got worse as Zahra grew older. Elisa unleashed her fury over the slightest infractions. Zahra was punished for not wearing her prosthesis correctly, for being clumsy and bumping into things, For being a brooding preteen, excuses designed to justify the unjustifiable. Teachers and neighbors who saw Zahra's black eyes and bruises were alarmed, but Elisa always had a cover story. And Child Protective Services investigations were eventually closed with no action taken. Zahra was trapped in a hellish world of pain and fear, belittled and betrayed by the woman who was supposed to protect her. But despite her circumstances, Zahra's sweet nature and cheerful attitude persisted, at least when seen by others. Co-workers at a local furniture store remembered her friendliness when she had visited there, watching cartoons on TV and smiling shyly while her stepmother shopped. She evoked great sympathy from all who met her, a disabled yet remarkably resilient girl who wanted nothing more than to be loved. But behind closed doors, the abuse raged on, with no one to intervene and save young Zahra from her wretched fate. Neighbors recollected Elisa's controlling and manipulative domination of Adam, convincing him to go along with the escalating cruelty. Elisa isolated Zahra in her room, depriving her of basic human contact for nearly the entire day, aside from strictly scheduled meals. Then came September 2010, when an ominous series of events began unfolding within the Baker
Police say
home.
time is running out in the search for 10-year-old Zahra Baker. The little girl suffers from bone cancer, and one thing that's making the search difficult is that officials aren't sure how long she's really been missing. Before we speak exclusively with two members of her family, CBS News correspondent Whit Johnson has the latest on the story from Hickory, North Carolina. Whit, good morning.
Maggie, good morning to you. Zahra Baker was actually homeschooled this year, and police say they haven't found anyone outside her immediate family who has seen her in the past few weeks. It's now been 3 days since she's gone missing, and we still know little about what may have happened to her.
Police and the FBI are still trying to piece together a timeline of 10-year-old Zahra Claire Baker's disappearance. Around 2 p.m. Saturday, Adam Baker called police to report his daughter missing. He also told investigators that his wife said she last saw Zahra asleep in her bed about 12 hours earlier. Zahra suffers from bone cancer, a disease that's left her with hearing aids in both ears and a prosthetic leg. Both her hearing aids were found in the home. Neighbors say they hadn't seen the girl outside the house in weeks. Investigators found what they believe to be a ransom note addressed to her father's boss. And while authorities haven't ruled out the possibility of a random kidnapping, they have their doubts about the note, which read in part, "We have your daughter, and your son is next unless you do what is asked. 1 million, unmarked. We'll be in touch soon."
We are questioning the validity of that note. We have no further demands from that note.
On Sunday, police arrested Elisa Baker, Zahra's stepmother, on unrelated charges. Later that night, a search warrant revealed police dogs detected the smell of human remains in 2 of the Baker's cars.
I hope and I pray that we'll find her and she'll be okay, because that youngin was the best youngin you can ever ask for.
Now, there was also a fire reported at the family's home the same day Zahra went missing. Police admit this is a complicated case with many layers, and they need more help from the public to put the pieces together. Maggie.
Whit Johnson in Hickory, North Carolina. Thank you.
According to Elisa's own admission, something happened to 10-year-old Zahra on September 24th. While Elisa later claimed Zahra had died naturally, the autopsy results told a very different story. Zahra's death was ruled a homicide by violence. The details of events on that dark September day have yet to fully come to light. But what happened afterward is clear. Over the coming weeks, Zahra's dismembered remains were callously dumped in various locations around North Carolina. Yet it was not until October 9th that Elisa and Adam finally reported Zahra missing. This date is more than 2 weeks after Elisa claimed Zahra died. In a 911 call, Adam fabricated a story that Zahra had been kidnapped overnight.
Your daughter since 2:30 this morning?
No, like I said, we had all that drama last night, and me and my wife went back to bed. And my daughter's, I think, coming into puberty, so she's hitting that broody stage. So we only see her when she comes out, when she wants something.
But the police investigation quickly unraveled this web of lies. The officers discovered inconsistencies in Adam and Elisa's accounts of when they had last seen Zahra. They brought in cadaver dogs, which detected human remains in the Bakers' vehicles. Searching their apartments, evidence of beatings and restraints were uncovered. Soon, the thin veneer disguising the evil within the Baker home disintegrated completely. Elisa admitted to writing a fake ransom note, her callous attempt to cover up Zahra's murder. With dwindling hope that Zahra was still alive, Elisa led investigators to the various dump sites where she and Adam had disposed of Zahra's dismembered body.
Police in North Carolina have confirmed that missing 10-year-old Zahra Baker is dead. They identified a bone as hers. It was found about 5 miles away from other remains. Her father and stepmother are prime suspects in that case. ABC's Junji Denise reports.
The search for Zahra Baker is over.
Investigators are devastated that we're not able to find Zahra alive and bring her home safely.
Investigators found human remains which match the missing 10-year-old in a wooded area outside her hometown. Zahra's father and stepmother reported her missing on October 9th, but police say no one outside the family had seen her after September 25th. This week, her mother arrived from Australia, overwhelmed with grief and moved by the community's kindness.
It upsets me that there were so many loving people around here, but yet it can still happen.
There are still many outstanding questions in this case. Police have yet to say how Zahra may have died.
You understand what you're charged with?
Zahra's stepmother is a person of interest in her disappearance after she admitted to writing a fake $1 million ransom note. After her arrest, Zahra's father said little to defend his wife. Do you think that your wife was anyway involved in your daughter's disappearance?
I'm not sure. I'd like to think no.
Neighbors in the area where searchers found her remains have come to pray for the young cancer survivor who lost her leg and her hearing battling the disease.
I just cannot believe somebody would do this, and especially to a child who had lived through what she's lived through.
For Good Morning America, Junji Denise, ABC News, Atlanta.
Inside more secret police files in the Zahra Baker investigation, search warrants reveal massive blood and tissue evidence throughout the entire Baker home. And bones recovered near a county back road. Confirmed, they're Zahra's. For the very latest, let us go out to John Miller, editor with the Hickory Daily Record. John, what's the latest in North Carolina?
Well, the latest is that those bones that were found off of Dudley Shoal Road on November the 10th, they do match Zahra's DNA. They were found off of Gunpowder Creek Road. There was a hole in the ground that was dug up. The dirt was taken. I remember standing out there 2 or 3 weeks ago thinking about how this could have happened. I also understand that the DNA matches DNA taken from the home, and it probably came from some of those swabs that came out of the home on October the 31st and November the 1st. That's when they went in and really did a job on the home, taking those blood swabs, finding more hair and tissue, and taking pieces of the wall and the drain pipe out of the home.
To Natisha Lance, Nancy Grace producer. Natisha, we have been combing through 122 pages today of search warrant affidavits, search warrant returns, an immense amount of information. There was so much blood in that home, Natisha, that they had to call in at the end of October a blood spatter expert into that home. Talk to us about the blood and the tissue that was found inside the Baker home.
Well, you're right, Jean. On October 27th is when they entered the home, and October 29th is when they went to court, decided that they need a blood splatter expert to come into the home because there was such an immense amount of blood. Now, on October 31st, as John Miller just mentioned, and November 1st, when they went into the home, they removed pieces of the walls, also the drain pipes and the traps from the tub. That is when they took 33 blood swabs, as well as removing walls which had tissue on them. Also, hair was removed, other tissue was removed, carpet fibers were removed, floorboards were removed. So they did a very thorough search of this home, trying to regain any type of physical evidence that may have belonged to Zahra Baker.
And you know, Natisha, when you say this, what just gets me in my gut is the search warrants say blood tissue of little Zahra was found on walls in the home, walls throughout the home. I want to go to Ellie Josted, Nancy Grace producer. We are finding out more detailed information about an alleged rape, possibly an alleged double rape committed against Zahra before she was killed.
Right. Well, in these warrants, they reveal that a tipster or a source came to police, said that he'd heard from a woman he was acquainted with that she knew about this rape. She says that Zahra was in the home, that when the mother returned, it's not clear where the mother, Elisa Baker, went, but when she returned, Zahra was bleeding from her private areas, how they phrase it. She also had blood on her legs. Police did locate these two men. They did search the house. We know they did find a mattress out front with a stain on it. Now, one of the men told police that was from his own urine. He claimed he urinated on that mattress. We don't know, however, if police did find any genetic evidence that Zahra had been in that house.
And one of the two men is coming forward saying that he didn't do anything at all, right?
Yeah, that's right. He spoke to our affiliates down in North Carolina. He says that he talked to police for over 10 hours. He claims he took a polygraph test. He says to his knowledge, Zahra Baker has never been in his home, although he said he did know her. He was acquainted with her. He'd met her on Christmas last year, but he claims he did not hurt her and that she was not in that house.
We have obtained exclusively for TV use letters written from stepmommy from behind jailhouse walls, and I gotta tell you, I've got an earful. Aside from saying what her husband, Adam Baker, Zahra's natural father, did to her was, quote, horrifying, she signs it like this: some girls want to be princesses when they grow up. I want to be a vampire. She signs everything dark love, vampires rule, you're my dark heart. What she says about Zahra is that she blames the child. If all this, in other words, the attention focused on Zahra's disappearance, wouldn't have happened if Zahra had not been a cancer survivor from Australia. She actually blames Zahra for beating cancer. She goes on to whine about having to cover up her tattoos and body piercings and how much she loves them, how she misses her warm waterbed. It goes on and on. And out of all these pages I'm looking at, not once does she say, where is Zahra? I love her. I want to hold her in my arms. I want to put her to sleep at night. What has become of her? Why was her leg thrown away? I can't stand to think that she's suffering. Not once does she exhibit 1 ounce of love or human kindness for this little girl. Can you imagine your mommy figure wanting to grow up to be a vampire, admitting her favorite holiday is Halloween because she's a pagan worshiper? Out to David Lord, joining us exclusively tonight. He is the crime reporter of AOLnews.com. He is the one responsible for getting his mitts on these letters and sharing them with us tonight. Enough from me, David. How did you get these letters and what did you learn?
Well, the letters were actually sent to Eric Geen. He runs a murderabilia website on the internet called Serial Killers, Inc. He had received the letters from Miss Baker last week, provided us copies of them. Obviously, the revelations in them are quite shocking, and that's why we moved forward and published them.
You know, David, the interest in Zahra is incredible and what happened to her. And after you've read these letters, everyone joining us is David Lord, crime reporter with AOLnews.com, who is sharing the letters with us. What were your impressions of her? I mean, she comes out and says, Zahra's dead. She's not missing. And the only thing she says about anything that happened to her specifically is that it was, quote, horrifying.
Yeah, she says, we didn't kill her, but what he did afterwards was quite horrifying, to paraphrase. So suggesting after she was dead, something horrific was done to her. So it's quite a startling revelation, and it goes along the lines with everything else in the letter. She claims Zahra's not missing, the police know where she's at, and, you know, basically wants to direct a lot of pity towards herself and her current conditions.
You know, that's something I noticed, David, and after when I go to commercial break, I probably won't even have enough time to do it then because it's such a huge number. I'm going to count how many times she said, I. throughout the entire, all the letters that you've obtained, it's all about me, how she's being misjudged, how people don't understand her, how people want her to be normal, but she can't be because she wants to be a vampire. Joining us right now, Gene Casares, legal correspondent in session. I know you've combed over these with a fine-tooth comb, thanks to crime reporter David Lord. What have you learned, Gene Casares?
You know, legally, you see her state of mind, you see her knowledge. When she says, we really didn't kill her, she places herself at the point of time that that all happened. She talks about that she is a party to a crime. And then she talks about what he did afterwards is horrifying. After the fact, that's not the murder, that's the cover-up. And so legally, she puts herself in the midst of it. On another point, she talks about Halloween. This is such a recent letter. She just wrote this. She said she's so concerned she has to miss Halloween. It's her favorite holiday. She's only 42 years old, and the camera really doesn't put her in the best light possible when she's been on television.
And, you know, Gene, she goes on to state that she wants to be in the media. She wants to be a media star, but her lawyer won't let her, Gene.
That's right. She wants to tell her story, she said.
The gruesome evidence confirmed the investigators' worst fears. Although too late to save her life, Zahra's brief time on Earth has not been forgotten. The police and community poured enormous resources into recovering her remains and bringing her killers to justice. Elisa now sits in jail awaiting trial for Zahra's horrific murder. The tragic story of Zahra Baker has touched hearts around the world. She overcame illness and disability as a young child, always loving, smiling, and bringing light to those around her. Though her innocence was so cruelly exploited by the very people meant to protect her, Zahra's spirit lives on in the memories of all who knew her. May she rest in peace. The suffering inflicted on this precious child shows the depths of human darkness and depravity. But Zahra's courage throughout her short life inspires us to build a world of light where no child must endure such hardship again. Though her hopes and dreams died too soon, her legacy calls on us to make each day one of purpose and compassion. For in the end, love is the only thing that remains.